There exists perhaps no individual filmography stronger than that of John Cazale. Over the course of his entire career, Cazale appeared in just 5 feature films, all of which would be nominated for or win the Academy Award for Best Picture. The Conversation and Dog Day Afternoon were both nominated for Best Picture, and The Godfather Parts I and II and The Deer Hunter all won the prestigious honor. The Conversation and The Godfather Part II actually came out in the same year, meaning they were competing against each other for the Best Picture award.
The Conversation, a Directors Company production, Paramount, Francis Ford Coppola producer, Fred Roos co-producer. The Godfather Part II, a Coppola Company production, Paramount, Francis Ford Coppola producer, Gray Fredrickson and Fred Roos co-producers.
If there's one quintessential 1970s actor who deserves more respect and acclaim, it's John Cazale. The man never received anywhere close to the level of love and adulation he was due from the general public in his lifetime, and to this day, he still hasn't. If you look at the Godfather family, every cinephile worth their salt knows that Al Pacino played Michael, that Marlon Brando played Vito, that James Caan played Sonny, but if you ask who played Fredo, everyone knows the character, but the percentage of film lovers who can say John Cazale drops way down. And I think it's time we try to change that.
Can I ask you a question? Do you know who this guy is? Nope. Nope.
Something from The Godfather?
He was the oldest one. He was a little slow.
The son that betrayed. Yes?
Yes.
Did he play Fredo?
Yeah, Fredo. Fredo.
Fredo. Do you remember? Do you know what the actor's name is?
Well, his name was Fredo.
Like the best character actors, John Cazale wasn't on screen. His character was.
I'm your older brother, Mike, and I was stepped over.
That's the way Pop wanted
It
it.
ain't the way I wanted it. I can handle things. I'm smart. Not like everybody says. Like dumb, I'm smart, and I want respect.
Fredo Corleone was on screen, not John Cazale. He disappeared so fully into each role he played that the actor behind the characterization became effectively invisible. The fact that his name is the one you don't know from the Godfather cast, and that his name is the only one absent from the Oscar nominees list, is a disservice to his talent. But also the highest compliment to be paid to his acting, in a way. I think John Cazale was overlooked for these acting awards because it doesn't feel like he's acting. This holds true for each of his performances. Despite every film he was in receiving a Best Picture nomination, and his co-stars on every single film receiving Oscar nominations, Cazale himself was never nominated.
I can't imagine how he wouldn't have been somewhat shook up by not getting an Oscar nomination, that second one. You know, you would think he'd have gotten more recognition for that part in his time, but he didn't, and I don't know how he felt about that. I don't know. I always felt that must have affected him somewhat. And then Dog Day, you see him in Dog Day, nothing again. 2 roles that significant, in pictures that are significant, you know, you would expect a little bit more attention, that's all. But I don't know, I would think he cared about that a little bit.
If you were to look at one performance of his in isolation, you might be able to see why. His performance is so naturalistic that if you were an Academy voter, you might just think, this is great casting. They found someone who fit the part perfectly, and this is just who this guy is. It looks like they pointed a camera at a man and let him be himself. It's only when looking at the breadth of his performances that we can appreciate how talented of a chameleon performer he truly was. The level of subtlety and nuance in these performances can only really be seen by comparing 2 of his performances side by side.
Oh, no, that was nothing, Mike. Now, Mo didn't mean nothing by that. Sure, he flies off the handle once in a while, but Mo and me were good friends, right, Mo, huh?
I don't want the cancer.
Oh, my God. Give me the cigarette.
Go ahead, do what you want. I just think you ought to take care of your body, that's all.
My body? What for?
Your body is the temple of the Lord.
This is not one man playing two different characters. This is two different people existing truthfully on camera. These are full-body performances. His characters don't talk the same way, they don't sit the same way, walk the same way, stand still the same way. His commitment to character and his mastery of subtlety are what makes his characters feel so alive and real. The greatness of John Cazale didn't only exist between action and cut. He was universally loved by the casts and crews with which he worked. Numerous accounts of overwhelming kindness and caring surround the legacy of John Cazale. Al Pacino and Robert De Niro have both cited John Cazale as the man they learned more about acting from than anybody else.
It was amazing to watch. I mean, it was a lesson in itself. I think I learned more about acting from John than anybody.
Beyond influencing and inspiring those he worked with, he also brought out the best in them.
I would almost bet money that all the actors that worked with him were inspired by what he did on the day. To take it that much further, to be that much more creative or risky or personal. Because he seemed to be kind of uncomfortably vulnerable in everything he did. And that always makes people go, oh, I think I gotta work a little harder. I think I better rethink what I'm doing here.
I've spoken at great length about Al Pacino's performance in Dog Day Afternoon before on this channel. I think it's his best work, and some of the credit for Pacino's performance being as great as it is in that film is owed to John Cazale. Watch my How to Give Actors Freedom video for more on that. And that's without even getting into the excellence of Cazale's own performance in Dog Day Afternoon. It's absolutely farcical to me that Cazale wasn't Oscar nominated for his performance as Sal. As the part was written, Cazale was a terrible fit for the character.
And I remember we were casting Dog Day, and Sidney Lumet wanted a 19-year-old boy. He thought that would be very important, and he was sort of right in a way. You know, the young boy who goes to this bank and is then shot. And my friend Charlie Lawton said, "What about John?"
At Pacino's insistence, Cazale was brought on board and steadily transformed the character into something so far beyond the original intention.
Is there any special country you want to go to?
Wyoming.
No, Wyoming. That's not a country. That's all right. I'm going to take care of it.
Even in The Conversation, where he's relegated to a rather small part, Cazale fully transforms. It's hard to believe that this is even the same actor. The first time I watched The Conversation, I knew Cazale was in it, and as a big fan of his, spent the entire first half of the film wondering when he was going to show up, without even realizing I had been watching him the whole time. Cazale was lovingly called 20 Questions by some of the people he worked with, as he was notorious for drilling deep down into the bones of his characters and asking constant probing questions of his directors and writers.
He loved to ask questions because he taught me about asking questions and not having to answer them. That's the beauty. You ask a question about something, but you don't have to have an answer. What's wonderful about it is you open the door to things. You have the variables now that you've asked a question.
He could read a part to play it, but he had to understand the human being on the page to become him.
You never knew when acting started with John and when it ended. And so consequently, he'd do these characters, and eventually they would become what they were. He didn't start that way. You'd wonder where he was during rehearsals, and he was there, but you would wonder, great, he's not really giving it the old, and then he would just become this. It was an extraordinary thing to watch and to be around to witness.
By all accounts, Cazale was a slow-moving and contemplative man in all walks of life. He took his time with even the simplest of actions, considering the minutiae of every moment, taking action only with purpose. And those senses of curiosity and contemplation show through in his performances. Every action, no matter how minor, is perfectly natural, yet deeply considered. In a decade full of powerful performances, Cazale shines despite being overlooked. I wish I could say that John Cazale decided to retire from acting with a perfect track record, but the truth is far more somber. Cazale passed away at the age of 42 as a result of lung cancer. He passed away in March of 1978, 9 months before the release of his final film, The Deer Hunter. During filming, Cazale was debilitated in his personal life, as the cancer had already progressed into late stages. You would never know it just by watching his performance. He kept it all out of the character. But off camera, he was suffering. When the studio and producers found out about his illness, they tried to have him removed from the film for liability and production reasons.
Bob De Niro went to bat for John. He won't tell me because he's a very generous person, but I think he secured the bond on John's participation.
He was sicker than we thought, but I wanted him to be in it.
So Bob put his money down and got him in the film.
Director Michael Cimino, Robert De Niro, and Meryl Streep, who Cazale was in a relationship with at the time, all put their necks on the line for his sake, threatening to walk from the project to ensure that Cazale could have just one more great film role in his lifetime. That's how much he meant to all of the people around him.
And that's what happens. I used to dream about John a lot, of course, when it first happened. And he was always alive in a dream. And see? He's always there, 30 years.
To everyone watching this video, please remember John Cazale's name and admire his work. And while you're here, go ahead and subscribe if you aren't already. If you want to support what I do, the best way is to pick yourself up a copy of my novel, The Fall of Polite, a brutal, post-apocalyptic tale of survival and revenge. Check out my video essay on giving actors freedom, which is the video where I dig into Dog Day Afternoon in great detail. Thanks for watching. Bye.